It was just after sunrise when the narrow village roads began to glow softly and Arjun stood beside a dusty banyan tree with tired eyes, folded papers in his hand and a dream that felt heavier than his worn sandals. Roosters echoed across the fields, metal teacups clinked in small kitchens, and the smell of fresh bread drifted between mud houses as bicycles passed slowly by. Arjun had grown up in this quiet Indian village, surrounded by wheat farms, mango orchards, and neighbors who knew each other's stories by heart. He was the son of a farmer who worked from dawn to dusk, and a mother who stretched every meal with patience and love. But Arjun carried something different inside him, a deep wish to build a small learning center for village children who studied under trees and borrowed books whenever they could. Before this story goes any further, take 1 second to like this video and subscribe to MindShift Tales, because stories like this remind us what real courage looks like, and your support helps bring more powerful village journeys to life. Arjun did not have money, connections, or influence, only a notebook filled with handwritten plans and a quiet belief that education could change futures. That morning he began walking from door to door, greeting shopkeepers, farmers, tailors, and community elders with respect and nervous hope. He explained his idea slowly, showing simple drawings of desks, shelves, and a tiny classroom filled with light. The first answer was gentle but firm, "No." The second answer came with a polite smile, "No." By sunset, after walking for hours beneath a burning sky, Arjun had already collected 10 rejections and several tired thank yous. Some villagers told him they barely earned enough for their own children, while others said such projects always failed. A few advised him to find a normal job and forget unrealistic dreams. Arjun returned home with dusty clothes, aching feet, and silence in his chest. His mother placed warm rice and lentils in front of him, and his father listened quietly as Arjun described every closed door. After a long pause, his father rested a rough hand on his shoulder and said that rejection only wins when you stop walking forward. Those words stayed with Arjun through the night. The next morning, before the sun fully rose, Arjun picked up his notebook and tried again. He crossed the shallow river to a nearby Pakistani village where his uncle lived, hoping that unfamiliar faces might bring fresh opportunity and open minds. He spoke to carpenters shaping doors, mechanics repairing motorcycles, and grocery owners counting small change behind wooden counters. Once again, he heard no. Some said education was the government's responsibility, not theirs. Some said they admired his heart but could not help. One man laughed and asked why he did not focus on his own survival first. By the end of that week, Arjun had been rejected 30 times, and his friends gently suggested he stop hurting himself. His cousins said effort without money was useless. Even at night, when the village became quiet and stars filled the sky, doubt whispered inside his mind. Still, Arjun woke before dawn each day and continued walking village paths that most people only used for errands. He learned how to explain his dream with clearer words and calmer breathing. He learned how to listen patiently to concerns instead of rushing his answers. He learned how to say thank you even when disappointment pressed against his ribs. By the time he reached rejection number 50, his voice had grown steady and his shoulders stronger. He began carrying photos of children studying on broken mats and borrowed stools. He showed pencil sketches of a simple room with shelves, fans, and sunlight. He promised honesty, open records, and personal effort instead of empty promises. People started listening longer, but they still said no. Rejection number 60 came from a wealthy landowner who closed his gate while Arjun was still speaking. Rejection number 70 came from a local charity that said they only supported large city projects. Rejection number 80 arrived from a businessman who advised Arjun to return next year when he had better connections. Each refusal felt like another stone added to a growing backpack on his spine, yet Arjun kept walking. In the evenings, he began teaching basic reading in a temple courtyard using donated pencils and old newspapers. Children gathered on woven mats while lantern light flickered across eager faces. Parents watched quietly from doorways, slowly realizing this young man was serious. Word traveled across farms and alleyways that someone was trying, even without money. Still, real support did not come. Rejection number 90 landed on a hot afternoon when a community committee voted against his proposal after a short discussion. Arjun sat alone under a neem tree afterward and allowed himself 5 minutes to feel tired, empty, and small. Then he stood up. He remembered his father's voice. He remembered the children tracing letters with dusty fingers. He walked to the final house on his list. It belonged to Meera, an elderly woman who sold milk and homemade butter from her shaded porch. Arjun spoke gently and shared his dream one last time. Meera listened without interrupting, without checking her phone, and without rushing him. She disappeared inside and returned holding a small metal tin. From that tin she placed a modest amount into Arjun's shaking hands and said she believed in effort more than excuses. That moment quietly erased rejection number 100, and hope finally found space to breathe. Meera introduced Arjun to her nephew, a schoolteacher in the nearby town who respected persistence. The teacher connected Arjun with former students who now owned a tiny printing shop. They offered free notebooks. A carpenter donated unused benches. A shop owner provided chalk and boards. 1 yes became 3, 3 became 7. Within weeks, the Learning Center opened inside an empty storeroom beside golden fields. Children arrived barefoot but smiling wide. Parents brought tea, fruit, and quiet prayers. Farmers stopped by after sunset to ask how they could help. Neighbors painted the walls together on a peaceful Sunday morning. What started as one stubborn dream slowly turned into a shared village mission. Arjun stood in the doorway on opening day, overwhelmed by gratitude and disbelief. He realized those 100 rejections had trained his patience, shaped his character, and prepared his heart. Today, that small center supports dozens of students and some older kids now tutor the younger ones. Arjun tells every visitor that success grows from the courage to hear no and keep moving. If this story touched you, please leave a comment about what dream you are holding inside. Share this video with someone who needs encouragement right now. Your voice matters, and your support helps MindShift Tales bring more real stories from villages like this. Arjun still walks those dusty roads, not to ask anymore, but to invite others to believe. He thanks every person who once turned him away because they unknowingly built his strength. Remember, progress does not come from perfect beginnings. It comes from imperfect steps taken again and again. Somewhere right now, someone is hearing their first rejection. Let this be their reminder to keep going.